If your insurance renewal always feels stressful, rushed, and more expensive than expected, there's a good chance the problem isn't the market, it's the process. Because businesses with no renewal strategy usually get whatever shows up at the last minute. And when that happens, you lose leverage. You lose time to compare options. You lose the ability to negotiate. And worst of all, you may end up accepting a bad deal simply because the clock ran out. In this video, I'll show you why so many business owners get blindsided at renewal time, the simple timeline that gives you leverage and real options before the deadline, and how a good broker helps you predict increases early so you're never stuck making last minute desperate decisions. Now, before we get into the process, imagine trying to buy a used car 5 minutes before the dealership closes. You don't have time to compare prices. You don't have time to have a mechanic to inspect it. You don't have time to negotiate, and you definitely don't have time to walk away and start over. So, what usually happens? You overpay for whatever is still available. That's exactly what many businesses do when they handle their insurance renewals every year. Not because they want to, but because the process started too late. And when time disappears, options disappear with it. Business owners don't get angry just because their insurance price went up. They get angry because they found out too late to do anything about it. I had this happen with the sober home operator one time. He had 26 properties, and 2 days before his renewal, his broker came to him with a 50% increase and basically said, "Here's your only option." He was through the roof angry. And honestly, most people would be, because think about what that moment really means. There's no time to compare options. There's no time to challenge the pricing, no time to move markets, no time to fix underwriting concerns. The decision has already been made for you by the calendar. That's what people hate. A tough renewal is one thing. Markets change, claims happen, property rates move, liability gets harder. Sometimes premiums genuinely go up. But a surprise renewal with no warning and no choices, that's what destroys trust. And this is where many businesses misunderstand the problem. They think they need a cheaper quote. What they actually need is a better renewal process. Because when the process is bad, even a fair increase feels insulting. When the process is good, even difficult news is easier to handle because you had time to prepare for it. If you want better renewals, the process usually needs to begin about 90 days before the expiration date, not 2 weeks before, not 1 month before. Not when the quote shows up, not when everyone starts panicking. 90 days out is where smart renewals begin. This is the point where you and your broker should sit down and ask a different set of questions. What changed in the business this year? Did revenue grow? Did payroll jump? Did you add vehicles or open or close locations? Take on riskier work? Have claims issues? Get frustrated with service? Do you need better coverage somewhere? Because insurance companies price the business you are today, not the business you were last year. And if nobody tells the updated story, they'll often underwrite you using stale information, assumptions, or the easiest explanation available. That can mean higher pricing, tougher terms, or unnecessary concern from the carrier. This meeting should also cover your goals. Are you mainly trying to reduce cost, improve coverage, fix service issues, consolidate policies, create competition in the market? Because if your broker doesn't know what winning looks like to you, they're just guessing. Most bad renewals don't fail at the quote stage, they fail here when nobody diagnosed the account early enough. You can't negotiate well when nobody first understood what changed. Section 4. Get the carrier requirements early. Once that 90-day strategy meeting happens, the next job is simple. Your broker needs to get in front of the insurance company early because one of the biggest mistakes in renewals is assuming the insurance company will just automatically send back clean renewal terms on time. Sometimes they do, a lot of times they need things first. They may need updated applications or current payroll or revenue numbers or loss runs, property values, vehicle schedules, financial statements, explanations on open claims, and safety updates. And if nobody asks what they need until the last minute, now the whole process gets delayed. And this is where accounts start getting stuck in line. Underwriters have workloads, they have deadlines, they have hundreds of renewals moving at once. So if your file shows up late or incomplete, it usually doesn't jump to the front because you're stressed. It waits its turn. That's why proactive communication matters so much. A strong broker reaches out early, learns exactly what the carrier needs, and gives you time to gather it properly. Because late paperwork creates late quotes. It really is that simple. And when quotes come late, you lose the one thing that gives you leverage in a renewal: time. So here's a simple benchmark that solves a lot of renewal problems. If your insurance company receives complete, accurate information about 60 days before the renewal, it is totally fair to expect renewal terms back 2 to 4 weeks before the expiration date. And that window matters more than most people realize because now you have time to actually think. You can review pricing carefully. You can ask questions. You can challenge bad assumptions. You can adjust deductibles or limits. You can compare options, or you can move to a totally different company if you need to. That is what a real renewal process looks like. Come back, compare that to the common alternative. A quote arrives 2 days before the renewal. Everyone is rushed. Nobody wants to answer questions, and the customer is told to sign quickly. That's not strategy, that's surrender. Time is leverage in insurance renewals. And the more time you have, the more choices you usually have. The fewer days left on the clock, the more power shifts away from you. So if you're constantly getting last minute renewals, stop asking only why the price is high. Ask when the submission actually went in, because many expensive renewals were already baked in weeks earlier when the timeline got missed. One of the most valuable things a good broker gives you is not just quotes, it's context. They should have a solid feel for what is happening in your industry before your renewal offer ever arrives. They should know which companies are pushing rates up, which ones are trying to grow, and where coverage is tightening, which classes of business are getting hit harder, and what a normal increase should roughly look like in your space. Think about it like weather forecasting. If someone tells you there's an 80% chance of a storm tomorrow, you may not love the news, but you can prepare for it. You can move the equipment, you can change the schedule, you can bring an umbrella. Insurance works the same way. If your broker says, look, umbrella rates are getting aggressive right now, or property values are under scrutiny, or this company is pulling back on your class, you can mentally prepare and make better decisions. What frustrates customers most is not always the increase itself, it's being blindsided by it. In fact, customers who clearly understand why their premiums increased often report satisfaction similar to customers who had no increase at all. That tells you something important. Communication often matters almost as much as price. So, a strong broker doesn't just bring you numbers, they help you understand the market, set expectations early, and remove surprises before they happen. So, if you want last minute renewals to stop going forward, here are a few simple questions to ask your broker. Do we have a 90-day renewal strategy meeting scheduled? When are carriers being approached? What information do you need from me right now? When should I realistically expect renewal terms? What would trigger a full remarket? And what are you seeing in my industry right now? Those questions sound simple, but they tell you a lot. If the answers are clear, specific, and proactive, you're probably working with a strong process. If the answers are vague, rushed, or nobody seems to know what happens next, there's a good chance your renewal is already drifting towards the last minute. And remember, most ugly renewals don't happen because the market was impossible. They happen because the process was weak. Fix the timeline, fix the communication, fix the strategy, and you usually improve the result. If you want better renewals, the next step is choosing a broker who actually has a process to deliver them. So click right here and watch this video on how to choose your insurance broker.